As today, Nike. Oh my God.
Caitlin Clark's Super Bowl commercial had everyone thrilled about her becoming the new face of Nike, but the following day, the company released another ad and completely erased her. The internet went crazy calling out the company for the glaring omission, and now Nike is desperately trying to fix the mess, but their cover-up attempt is so bad it feels like a conspiracy. Nike just made one of the biggest mistakes in sports marketing history, and it wasn't even on the pitch. Joke.
Folks, sometimes it's just unbelievable. I don't even know. I'm speechless. I am speechless with what has been thrown across my desk this morning.
Following Caitlin Clark's incredible Super Bowl moment, things took a crazy turn. During the game, Nike launched an incredible commercial that excited athletes and spectators. Travis Kelce warmly praised Clark's performance, recognizing her as the brand's new face and the next great sensation.
Looked like Nike is definitely in hot water over the Caitlin Clark commercial that appeared a day after the Super Bowl. Now, we all know Caitlin Clark had that big-time commercial that aired during the Super Bowl. Even Travis Kelce reacted to the first one.
It felt like a dream come true, but then everything changed. The following day, Nike published a new advertisement, and rather than building on Caitlin Clark's success, they treated her as like she didn't exist.
In typical Caitlin Clark fashion, Caitlin Clark's Voldemort. They can't say Voldemort's name. Cheryl Swoops can't say Caitlin Clark's name.
Nike's subsequent advertisement was totally removed. Fans were stunned when Caitlin Clark, the top name in women's basketball, made her vanish as if she had never existed, but Nike chose to ignore her.
So Caitlin Clark had her Nike commercial, and, well, she didn't have her Nike commercial. She had one Nike commercial, and then the other one, they went out of her way not to talk about her. They went out of their way to not talk about Caitlin Clark.
You may believe it was an error, but things get fascinating from here. With the exception of Caitlin Clark, every other athlete from the first ad was featured in the new one. It seemed as though Nike purposefully left her out and behind.
Like, they had a commercial they released where they mentioned Juju Watkins, they mentioned Sabrina, they mentioned all the athletes that were on the t-shirt other than Caitlin Clark and Paige Becker.
Fans immediately took note, and social media was inundated with hateful remarks. One fan said, "You mention everyone except Caitlin Clark. She's the reason for all the hype." While another added, "Nike, you're all clowns. Why didn't you add her name?"
Now, there was a second one that came out the very next day, kind of hyping up these Nike signature t-shirts that was going to be coming out with all of the women from the first commercial. Well, I'm here to tell you, they hyped up everybody except for Caitlin Clark.
Not just fans were taken aback. Industry insiders referred to Caitlin Clark as the most marketable athlete in women's sports and expressed amazement that Nike had lost such a significant chance.
Online, everybody was reporting on it because I was stunned, man. Nike showed love in that first commercial. Pretty much had the commercial kind of centered around Caitlin. Looked like Caitlin was about to become like the face of Nike. And then the very next day, they dropped the bombshell on us that, you know what, we're not even finna mention Caitlin Clark's name.
Experts criticize Nike for squandering a fantastic opportunity, stating that when you have a star, you let them shine. However, Nike thoughtlessly threw everything away. You know it's terrible when experts call you out.
Somebody said, so you make an ad and you mention everyone except Caitlin Clark. She is the reason for all of the hype. Show the respect she deserves. Can't wait for CC to go to another brand that will respect her. Your history is bookmarked.
This error marks the start of Nike's disastrous journey. Their frantic efforts to remedy it will only make matters worse.
They put a commercial out, and if you guys did not hear, they released a quote-unquote director's cut. And by the way, this is my favorite thing of all.
Nike entered complete panic mode, and their attempt to clean up the mess was so ludicrous that rather than owning up to their error, they staged a farcical cover-up. It was like a magician trying to put a rabbit back in a hat after it had already escaped.
Sorry, Ego. They say, hey, Ego, can you just send us a couple lines? Can you just send us a couple lines? Voicemail, email, voice note, memo note, whatever the case may be. Just send us a couple lines and we'll throw the voiceover in of you saying Caitlin Clark and everybody will be happy, right? Everybody will be happy, right?
In the original advertisement, Nike hurriedly inserted a voiceover that mentioned Caitlin Clark, but it was incredibly awkward. You couldn't help but giggle because the voice didn't fit the speaker lips at all, like a badly dubbed kung fu movie.
I mean, at the end of the day, everybody cheered because we had a little Caitlin Clark cameo on a commercial, so this should be enough. So this is what they ended up doing with Caitlin Clark.
You want to know what I'm selling? Rookie of the Year, Caitlin Clark. I know you want a tee.
Okay.
Nike.com.
Someone in the editing room must have thought, yeah, this will fool them, but it didn't. Similar to poorly dubbed films where the lips continue to move after the sentence ends and Nike's voiceover is awkwardly forced in Rookie of the Year Caitlin Clark.
Rookie of the Year, Caitlin Clark. I know you want a tee. Nike, I was born that night. I was. I woke up today, I saw this, I checked my birth certificate just to make sure. Yeah, I was born at night. Not last night, Nike. Not last night.
However, guess what? Fans noticed right away how awkward and forced it sounded, and comments were flooding in asking whether Clark had recorded a voicemail for the advertisement. It sounded like Nike tried using Scotch tape to replace a broken vase in the hopes that no one would notice.
Is this, folks? They had her send in a voice memo. They had her, watch this.
You want to know what I'm selling? Rookie of the Year, Caitlin Clark. I know you want a tee.
Okay.
Nike.com.
This is ridiculous.
Although fans mockingly referred to it as the director's cut, it was actually a last-ditch effort, similar to a student who forgot their assignment and scrawled something at the last minute, except that this was a multi-million-dollar advertising campaign.
Take a listen. They voice over it.
Selling? Rookie of the Year, Caitlin Clark. I know you want a tee.
Okay.
She's not even talking. Like, she's silent, and two, it's a voiceover.
Selling? Rookie of the Year, Caitlin Clark. I know you want a tee.
Okay.
So someone edited that in post-production.
This is when things go even worse. It's a total crisis management failure, not simply a poor edit. Nike had the opportunity to acknowledge their error and offer an apology, but instead they adopted the corporate equivalent of "dog ate my homework."
They put a voiceover. They made her send him through voicemail with the Caitlin Clark parts to appease us. Like, that's hilarious. That is absolutely hilarious.
You may be wondering what marketing professionals thought, and they weren't holding back when they called Nike's answer a huge PR failure and violated Crisis Management Rule 1001. Instead of taking responsibility for your error, Nike attempted to hide it with a voiceover that sounded like it was recorded in a basement.
Freaking Ego's over here walking in the middle of New York City sending a voice note. Caitlin Clark, Rookie of the Year. I know you want a tee. Oh man, this is disastrous. This is disastrous again.
Isn't it amazing that this is Nike, the company that created some of the most famous sports advertisements? This time, it's more like just don't, as they transformed a straightforward error into a catastrophe akin to a slow-motion train collision on Caitlin Clark's career tracks.
Folks, we have footage of her saying nearly every word in the other commercial. Yet in this commercial, we just have her going, you can't make this up. The WNBA writes themselves. The WNBA nonsense writes itself. Nike writes itself. These people just can't get out of its own way. It's funny to watch.
What comes next for Nike and Caitlin Clark? The key question following this catastrophe is whether she will continue to work for a company that treats her like a forgotten umbrella or whether she will move to one that appreciates her without requiring a last-minute voiceover.
They went in the lab and they redid this commercial. They definitely redid it, did a voiceover on it. They had to fix it, dog. They definitely had to fix it.
Fans and detractors alike took to social media to express their annoyance and call out Nike for their huge error, which caused an internet firestorm that made even senior executives perspire.
Voldemort's name. So, of course, there's the backlash. Like, oh man, Nike, here we go again. You guys just can't get out of your own way.
Imagine scrolling through your feed full of tweets criticizing Nike. One fan yelled, "You guys are clowns. Why wasn't Caitlin Clark's name mentioned?" And that was just the beginning of the outrage that grew as supporters believed Nike had disrespected their new basketball queen.
At the end of the day, Nike is Nike, folks. Nike is Nike. Oh, but they put a poster in Angel Reese territory. Angel Reese isn't a Nike athlete. This would mean a little bit something if it was a Nike athlete running down on a Nike athlete in her own territory. Then we got something. This is Nike claiming real estate that they've already claimed. Who else would they be putting on this poster? Asia Wilson? Maybe.
Not only were fans furious, but video producers also grabbed on the news right away, with YouTubers breaking out Nike's error frame by frame. One even remarked, "Nike, you'll never beat these accusations," implying that Clark ought to quit the firm that had helped her rise to prominence.
Yeah, it is. It's just so funny. Nike's just fumbling of Caitlin Clark. Like, this wouldn't, by the way, like, I wouldn't be complaining that much about this if it wasn't for the fact that, like, Nike are out there basically saying that one of the big reasons why they're failing is because of a lack of their signature line.
You may have wondered what the experts thought, and they had a lot to say. As astonished as everyone else, sports gurus shook their heads in shock. One even said that Nike simply can't get out of their own way, likening it to watching a great player miss a wide-open layup.
Because of a lack of their signature line, they are failing. Like, LeBron's aren't selling as much. All of these like signature lines are not selling as enough. And you've got one signature line that you know for a fact is going to sell a absolute shitload, and you don't have.
With every social media update generating greater fury, the pressure increased more quickly than a fourth quarter comeback. The reaction spread more quickly than you could say, "Just do it" after Nike, once the pinnacle of style, appeared to be completely out of touch, like a grandfather having trouble with TikTok.
But when Nike just keep doing with Caitlin Clark, it just doesn't stop. Like, they're fumbling it so badly. Like I think there is a huge regret. Again, the only positive is they're releasing the Caitlin Clark P's, the Indiana Fever Kobe 5s.
The blowback was so severe that you could practically see Nike sweating through your screen in full panic mode as the news quickly spread, turning this into a viral wildfire. They frantically tried to manage the PR disaster, but the damage had already been done.
So, like, if I was her, like, her agent did such a poor job with this Nike deal. And at this stage, you can't even blame Nike. They were tied down for 8 years. They're in no rush. They ever tied down to whatever freaking awful contract they want to go and give. But at the same time, like, it's not ideal. It's not an ideal situation, like, overall.
When it appeared that Nike's error couldn't get any worse, people ripped apart their hastily made correction. One remark summed it up. They added a voiceover, "laughing my ass off." They most likely didn't even script it. It felt like a last-minute rush to grab a microphone and pronounce Caitlin Clark's name.
Somebody said they put her in the director's cut. Bro, you can't make this ish up. No, that wasn't no director's cut. That was a voiceover from the heat that they was receiving online for people like me and other content creators, calling them out, and even y'all on Twitter, calling them out for leaving Caitlin Clark out of this.
Experts say that this error could seriously harm Nike's reputation in women's sports marketing, possibly leading top athletes like Clark to look for partnerships with companies that genuinely support and recognize their value. Nike, the industry titan of sports marketing, recently gave a masterclass in how not to handle a rising star. Now, everyone is wondering if Caitlin Clark will stay with Nike after this mess, or if another brand will step in and give her the respect she deserves.